Welcome back to another episode of Sippy Cup Shenanigans. I'm Katherine Jensen.
And I'm Taylor Palmer. And this week we are going to chat just a little bit about how we are trying to raise our kids with more hope in what we feel like is a very heavy world at the moment, and kind of how we're navigating that and how to see the positivity and kind of share that positivity with our kids, even though it's been rough, kind of how we're navigating it, and then how we can help our kids.
Yeah, and it's kind of going to be like, I feel like a brainstorming session a little bit
Yes.
too, because we've been talking a lot about like, how do we like still find joy and not be so anxious and like, yeah, like what can we do for our kids even though we're feeling stressed? And so
Exactly.
like, this is just kind of, we're trying to help each other out, learn from each other. Obviously, we'd love to hear what you guys are doing or any ideas that
Yeah.
you guys have too. So yeah, we just like, we
It's
want to
open to all.
support each other and like, two brains is better than one and
Exactly.
more is even better.
Exactly. Trying to be positive, not just be positive. I would say, how can we make a positive difference?
Different.
I think I don't want to necessarily just sit and do
Mm-hmm.
nothing. So I'd love to, chat about how we can help our kids, how we can help each other, and then, how can that positivity spread
Yeah, absolutely.
outside of the walls of our own homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And like it starts in our home,
Yes.
like, and then that's where we can do the most good, I
Mm-hmm.
think, is
Mm-hmm.
like in our home. And then yeah, like you said, how can that
Radiate.
like radiate? I love
Mm-hmm.
that word. Yes. Thank you. See,
You're
this is what I
welcome.
mean. Two brains
Yeah.
better than one. You finish my sentences.
Yes. We've just known each other that long.
Yeah, exactly. We're almost one brain at this
Exactly.
point.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Well, so we came up with some questions to just kind of like get this brainstorming session rolling.
I think it's kind of starting off with how we're feeling, right? And how
Yeah.
we feel about what's going on. And then take that, and then we'll end with how we can do it positively. So I feel like the beginning is going to be maybe a little bit more,
Yeah.
but the point of it is
The
positive.
problem the
Oh,
problem dumping,
exactly. We
and
have to,
then we'll get
yes.
to the problem solving. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. So you have to stick around because I'm like, I want to make sure that we all know it's not a negative episode,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
got to share how you're feeling first, right? So,
Exactly.
so I think we're starting with our country, but that
Yeah.
does resonate to the entire world.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, does that ever make you anxious?
Only every day.
And then beyond that about like raising kids in it.
Yeah, and then add that layer to it. Yeah. And that makes it like times the 100
Mhm.
in my eyes because I do well, like I worry for like, the world and people as like a whole,
Mhm.
right? And then also, yeah, like thinking about my kids and what challenges they could potentially face in the future and like thinking about the world that they're going to grow up in and have kids in, and like and their kid like my brain even goes to
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah. The
just
future
like future,
generations.
yeah, generations. And so it can feel really overwhelming and yeah,
Yeah.
scary or anxious
Yeah.
and all the things.
I found myself tearing up going to bed the other night thinking that I have two young kids that are growing up where all the things that are happening right now are happening.
Mhm.
And it just made me feel so overwhelmed, I think. And
Mhm.
it was heavy. And that's not to say that everything is negative, but it's a sad thought that I feel like there's so much hatred. I don't understand this, but
Mhm.
so many feel that they can spread hatred,
Yeah.
and like that some people are okay and some people are not, and and that their views are better than someone else's. And that, I think, is what makes me sad.
Yeah.
I want to raise my kids to know that everyone has a
Mhm.
place and
Yeah.
everyone is loved,
Yeah.
and we help our neighbors and we help others. And when you see so much hatred, it's
Mhm.
just sad. And it was a very heavy feeling. And I just remember going to bed anxious and sad,
Yeah.
thinking like
Yeah.
I am going to do my best to raise them in a positive light,
Yeah.
but it's disheartening to see the
Mhm.
direction in which things are going right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you kind of got to like the core feeling that I'm feeling as well is yeah, just like the like negativity, the hatred, like the I don't know, just like polarizing kind of
Mhm.
attitudes and yeah, it's hard and like you said, you just want to do your best to teach your kids
Exactly.
to respect everyone and everyone is deserving of love and yeah to serve others and to
Exactly.
help others and that's what builds community and just so many things that like you want them to experience.
And don't get me wrong, I think that everyone is entitled to your own opinion. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
think what you would like to. But I have never seen a world in which it's so okay to like act on some of those things. And
Mhm.
that's where it's frustrating because it's like, okay, if you have that, it's not okay to be rude to other people.
Yeah.
Like, say you view something one way.
Mhm.
I respect that. If
Mhm.
that is how you want to see things, maybe I don't agree with you, but don't push that on someone else because you that's your way. I think that everyone should be entitled to
Yeah.
their own way to feel, and we still come together
Yeah.
and find common ground, and that's
Yeah,
what connects us. And I think
exactly.
that's where my problem is these days, because it feels like it's like you were saying, so polarized. Like there are just
Mhm.
two sides, and people just aren't wanting to come together and understand one another.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
And I
that's
think
the problem.
yeah, and I think like you said, it's like people aren't wanting to find that common
No.
ground. But that's like so important because like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, and like Austin reminds me of this a lot, is like at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, really. We just have some people have very different ways
Going about it.
of going about it or thinking that yeah, just like the way to get there can be different. But like at the end of the day, we all want healthy kids. We all want safe kids. We all want kind kids. Like we all our family and friends to be happy and safe and just like we all want the same things and trying to like I need to remind myself of that.
Yeah.
But it's hard when like people aren't willing
That's the problem.
to
Because you can sit down, I believe, with somebody
Mhm.
for 5 minutes and guaranteed you will find a commonality between
Yeah,
the two of you.
absolutely.
Like guaranteed. But it's the willingness to want to
Mhm.
sit down and have that conversation with somebody that is, I think, the hard part.
Mhm.
And or just like the willingness to listen. And that's not to say that I also don't have that problem too,
Totally. Totally. We could all
but
be better.
I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Because everybody thinks that they're, right.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And I think like especially right now, like the news and
Ugh.
social media and like everything, there's just like a lot right now and it can be like super overwhelming. I am trying to find the balance between being informed but not being
Panicked.
uh-huh. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
I'm trying to find that balance too myself.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's hard. I'm trying to, like, you tell me if you've um done anything or thought of anything to help with this. I feel like I'm trying my best to um get my news, or like look at the news from reliable news sources, as you know, as best as you can find. Like, no news source is going to be perfect, but like, rather than like getting all my information from social media, because I can do that. Like, well, it's just like easy because you're just like on
Scrolling.
social media. Yeah, you're just scrolling, and so that's what you see. But like, trying not to just take that at face value, because
Exactly.
it can be there can be a lot of misinformation and stuff. So that's what I'm obviously not perfect at that, but that's what I'm trying to do, is like, even if I see something on social media, being like, okay, like, go maybe look into it a little bit more from like actual
Yes.
sources and try to understand it
Hmm.
a little bit better, get some more facts maybe. And then also just trying to create boundaries around and limit phone time in
Mm.
general, like social media,
Yeah.
and trying to be more like in the moment and present, like with my family and my kids, because like then I can kind of like, okay, I need to like come back to the present
Yeah.
moment and what's like right in front of me. And like, there's so much out there I can't control. There's so much
Yeah.
happening out there that I can't
But you can
control.
control this moment.
Yes, is that, yeah, but like, okay, I'm trying to like be present with my kids, and like, what can I do for them right
Yeah.
now, and my spouse and our relationship and my home. And those are things that like kind of bring me back
That's
to
important.
like more, just feel more grounded, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know. Does that make
No,
sense?
yeah, it does because I think that it can be hard and I've been better, I think, about a lot of those things that you're talking about. I try not to scroll all the time. I've been better
Hmm.
about that. I'll do it during nap time if I'm just like sitting with the kids sometimes. But I don't do it the whole time. It's too much, so I'll like watch a show if I'm holding Riley or
Yeah.
something. But I do think I'm the same as you. Like, I try and go to reliable sources because you can get in a trap and there is a lot of misinformation, and like fear mongering.
Yes.
And I think that some of it's true and some people are very informative.
Yeah.
And there are people that are like, this is not to scare you, this is purely informative. But there are also people who, I'm going to bring in something. There's the Save Act that's going around all of TikTok. I don't know if you see people talk about the Save Act at all, but
Mm-mm.
people will go on there and say, you need to be ready for this because it's already passed the House and going to Senate. Okay,
Mm.
so that concerns me. It's not true.
Mm.
So people are out there telling everybody this, and so I
Yeah.
think it's important to go and check all these other things. Like, I have the Five Calls app,
Yes.
and a lot of the bills that have been introduced
Yeah.
are on there. And so if you click on them, I don't know if you've done that, but it brings you
Yes.
to like the government website and it shows you exactly where in the process it is. So it hasn't passed the House. It's only been introduced. I'm sure maybe there was an act like this back when, and it did, but that's as far as it got. But I don't like things like that because it's like people are just hearing something and then going on and like
Yeah. And it
scaring other
creates like
people.
a panic.
It does.
Yeah. Which isn't
So
helpful.
not at all. So I think it's really important that people look up things and really know what you're talking about before sharing, because I think that the right information is important. And that was something that I'd been getting into, like a kind of like a spiral of all this news. It's too much. It's too much to process, I think. And so you were saying like a good relationship with your spouse and all that stuff. And so
Yeah.
Dwayne hasn't been looking at much stuff because he's at work, and then he comes home and I just like
Spew.
spew everything because it's too much for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he'll be like, well, I haven't seen anything, so I don't think that that could be that. And so that causes
Tension.
tension and frustration. And
Yeah.
so we had to have a whole chat. And so I think a good thing that we're doing now is spending like either at the end of the day, but it doesn't have to be every day. We found a couple shows like we're going to watch, I think at the end of the weeks or whenever, the John Oliver Last Week Tonight. Have you watched
Mm,
that? We're like, okay, we can watch that together. And there's some humor in that, but also
yeah.
like news. So it's like a little bit more lighthearted, but also like he does share important things. So things like that, we're going to just sit down and watch together so that he's watching it and I'm watching it. And it's not just like me giving him information.
Yeah.
I think that was important for us.
Yeah.
So that,
No, that I like that that idea.
mhm,
Yeah, rather than it being something to create tension,
yes,
you turned it into something that can like be more connecting
yeah,
and like you can be there to support each other and
exactly.
yeah.
And then we can like look things up if we want on the side and talk about
Mhm.
how like
Mhm.
we feel about different things other than like me just telling him and he'll be like, well, I don't know. And it's like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Because then, I'm sitting there like, I need someone to support or someone to listen to all this information when he's
Yeah.
not. And I get that that's probably too much for him. So that was a good thing that we've kind of come up with. But yeah, I think that it's going to be good for us to just have some together time. Then we can kind of like share our thoughts.
Well, today this is just like a little kind of random side note. I mean, it goes into what we're
Yes.
talking about. Today we went to downtown Boston. My mother-in-law was in town and we just like went to explore and there was this like Red Bull event going
Mm.
on that we randomly ran into and there was like a bunch of people there and then there was some volunteers in the area as well asking if people wanted to write a postcard to like the parks service it said there was like a sign and it said, write a postcard to support our public lands and protect our parks.
I love that.
And so I was like, absolutely, I'm going to take a minute to write
Yeah.
a little postcard and just in support of
Yes.
our parks and public lands and like and such a like small thing and like is that going to change anything probably
Yeah.
not but
No,
like
but you're sharing your thoughts and
yeah
you're supporting something that
that I think is important
well, that
and that
shouldn't,
I
to be
care
honest,
about.
well, yeah, it shouldn't even need to have all this support. So, I
Yeah.
mean, they deserve to have the praise, but it shouldn't have
Yeah.
this need of this much support
Yeah.
to it be
Yeah.
there. So,
Yeah, and she was like, and we're just trying to support those who have been like doing like all of these things. So I just felt like
I think that's
it took
great.
me, a couple of minutes. So just trying, I think, to find
Little
those
things.
little opportunities,
Yes.
because especially in our phase of life, like we can't be doing all the rallying and volunteering and protesting and like we just like we're moms of young kids like we have a full plate like and so but finding maybe just those like little
Little
things that
things. I
that
think
we
those are the
can do.
things that are we can do and we can have the time for that.
Yeah, it's kind of like an answer to one of the next questions is like teaching our kids like hope and resilience
Mhm.
and it like the question is what small ways can we show them the world is still good.
Mhm.
And I think by us like maybe participating in those
Small acts.
small acts, whatever it may be, like service or community involvement, like support anything, kindness to a neighbor, just
Exactly.
like just showing them by example
Mhm.
what seem like small acts, but just like we were talking about in our episode last week with Catherine from Cocoa Tree Kids, like it seems simple, but like to a kid, like it can have a big impact and
Exactly.
like and just showing them that service is important and that there's still a lot of good and a lot of people wanting to do good and help others.
Yeah. a lot of
Sorry,
the
that
time.
was long-winded.
No, because I love that because you can get so dragged down with so much of the negativity that's happening that it's
Mhm,
so important to make sure that you are making a point, especially with your kids, to show
mhm,
them the joy and the happiness
mhm.
and everything in life that is good. And like you're saying, just like those small acts can make a difference. And
Yeah,
just helping others. It could be modeling kindness by like
yeah,
holding the door open for somebody or
yeah,
Everly loves to open the door for anybody. Just like little things like that, telling them how much that impacted you or letting them know the difference that they could make, that they just made in someone else's life by just a smile and
yeah,
sharing how that can brighten someone's day. I mean, I think that those small things that make them smile and happy show them without saying there's joy in the world and there's
yeah.
happiness, like
Yeah,
shows them that they're living a happy life and
yeah,
a joyous life and a life where they are sharing with others.
yeah, and there's still so much to be happy about and
Exactly.
grateful for, and
Mhm. And
so
they don't need to know everything that's going on at all.
no,
They just
especially
need to know that they're safe and
yeah,
loved
yeah,
and that they can spread happiness and
yeah,
joy to others.
exactly, yeah. Another, idea I had is, like, reading stories or books about, like, being
Yeah.
kind or, like, loving others or, just, like I mean, Hillam loves to read, and we go to
Yeah.
the library, like, all the time, and so trying to like, now I'm gonna be more intentional
Mhm.
about trying to find books that show that as well and teach those things too. Just
Yeah.
another little opportunity.
Exactly, and it's something that they enjoy doing, so
Yeah.
it's, like, the best of both worlds.
Mhm. Mhm.
The other thing that we were gonna talk about is how do we help them process hard things, right? Because as much as I was just saying, like, they don't really need to know all that, that doesn't mean that things don't come their way at times, right?
Mhm.
It's not obviously the weight of the world or knowing, like,
Yeah.
what's happening with our government
But,
or
like,
anything like that.
Hillam is, like, so curious. He's such a curious
Mm.
kid, and he asks a million questions a day, and, even questions that I'm like, wouldn't think at his
Mhm.
age he would even be, like, thinking of, and sometimes I have to pause and be like, how do I even answer that
Yeah,
question? So, like, they are curious and they notice things and they'll ask
exactly.
questions and so, yeah, not that you're like
Being like,
yeah,
"Hello,
there's
Everly. I know you just woke up from your nap today, but let me
yeah,
tell you all of the things that have happened and that I
yeah,
found out while you were taking a nap today."
yeah,
It's
no, no. It's, like, on a much, like, smaller scale in their
Yeah,
little world,
yeah.
right? Like
Like they fall and scrape their knee,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
Or they see an animal that got hurt or something like that.
Yeah,
And you're like, how do you process things like that? And I think that that just, if you're helping them find ways like to process those emotions at a young age that hopefully, right, we're helping little humans grow up to be able to process those emotions when they're older
yeah.
in a better way, I would hope, than even I do.
Mhm.
But I was just like validating their feelings, right? I think is something that I like to do with Everly. And I always like, that knee jerk reaction when your kid like gets hurt and you're like, oh, you're okay. You're okay.
It's okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I try and like listen to that wording because I
Mhm.
want her to know, like, and I'll go backwards sometimes and things like it's okay to cry
Yeah,
and it's okay to have those feelings and they're big and it's sometimes things are hard and it's okay to be upset
yeah.
and I'm here for what you need. Um if it lasts for a really long time sometimes I'll be like, oh, I think we're okay.
Yeah. Do you want a snack?
Yeah, like I mean it was just you bonked your finger on the corner there, but
Yeah. I mean,
but
I think there's a difference
yes.
between, like, allowing space for emotions and,
Yeah.
like, dwelling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Are there things that you do with your kids other than that's one of my biggest ones is to make sure
Yeah,
she knows?
I'm trying to think.
Well, you just talked about one using books, right?
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah,
Story
we
time.
love the Slumberkins books. Have you heard of them? I
Yes.
love the Slumberkins. They have books all about like different emotions and feelings, and they have like characters and well animals, like each
Are
one kind
these
of represents a feeling.
are these at the library?
Are they at the library? I have no
Yeah.
idea. I should look
Just
for them
you
at the
have
library.
them?
I have 3 of them. How I found them was my mom got Hillam a book, and it's like the general one that kind of talks about like all feelings and
Okay.
like, but then I bought Hillam the honey bear one, and it came with a little kind of like lovey stuffed animal, and
Yes.
that is like his stuffed animal. Like
Really?
that he sleeps with every single night. He calls it his bee.
Oh, I see. I see it.
You see it? The honey bear?
I'm
Yeah.
looking them up.
We get we have the stuffed animals that are like they're like flat. They look like
Yes.
flat just cuz it's like easy for them to like
Hold
snuggle
and
with.
snuggle.
And so we got the narwhal one for Hayes. So
That one
that's what
looks yep.
yeah, so that's what he sleeps with
That's
every night. But I love them because they just like the honey bear one talks about like gratitude, and just like
mm,
we have, and it has like affirmations at the end of the book, and like we have
love that.
everything we need. There's joy in every day.
Yeah.
Like, and then I can't remember what the narwhal one is off the top of my head, but like I will read it and be like, I needed this
Yeah.
just as much as my toddler. But I think it's a really good way to talk about emotions, name
Mm,
emotions. Like they're, yeah,
yeah.
we're gonna have like hard days, and we're gonna be sad, and that's okay. And anyways, I
But you
love
can find
those.
like gratitude
Yeah.
and happiness
Hmm.
through those things. That's great.
Another thing we do a lot is, which I think I've mentioned before, is like deep breaths. We
Yeah,
do
we do that a lot.
the deep breaths.
Except for when I'm like, I think we should take a really deep breath. Like, let's and then Everly will just look at me. She's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You're like, well,
I'm gonna
I
take a
need,
deep
yeah. Well, that's what I say. I'm like, okay, well, I need to take some breaths.
breath.
So,
Sometimes after I do it, then she'll
yeah,
kind of do it, or she'll walk away and then come back and she's like, look, mama. I'm like, okay, very
yeah,
good. I'm glad that you found that. Sass me.
yeah. Oh man, the sass
It's
for
real.
sure. So the next kind of category,
Hmm.
no, is that the right word? Is like how can we find joy in the everyday chaos?
Yeah.
And like specifically, what small daily habits help us shift our focus to
Yeah.
joy when we're like maybe in the depths of despair?
Yes.
And something that I have been doing recently is, I don't know, like, I know this is going to sound like weird saying this out loud, maybe, but do you ever have those moments where you're just like watching your kids and they could be doing the simplest thing or the most random thing, and you just feel a little like spark of joy
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
heart?
Yeah. Like every day.
Like that's like, I don't know, the best way I can describe it is just like your heart feels just like this spark of
Yeah.
joy and like warmth and happiness. And like, yeah, it like happens all the time, but I've started not not every time, but trying to write down those little
Oh,
moments because I don't like, I remember the feeling, but I
yeah.
don't remember like the specific
That's a smart
moments.
idea.
But then it just like helps you appreciate those little
Mhm.
those little moments. Like the one I wrote down the other day is like just the cute way that Hillam like asked for one of his Valentine chocolates. Like it was just so sweet. Like, hey dad, can I please have one of my Spidey chocolates? You know, like he just, I don't know. It was just the way he like was asked. And I was just like, he's so precious, you know, like,
Yeah.
and so that's just like something I've been doing to try and focus on those
I
I don't
really
know,
that's a no,
happy moments.
that's a that's a great thing to do. I wanna do that because I feel like recently with Riley getting, like, bigger and Everly, like, wanting to play with him more, I have so many where I'm just, like, watching him like, "Oh my god." I'm
Yeah.
so grateful and
Yeah.
happy, and they're just, like, the sweetest things in the world,
Yeah.
and you just,
They're
like your heart
so
just, like,
pure.
gushes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has this, like, smile that
Mhm,
will
mhm.
melt your heart, and I'm just
Yeah,
like, "I can't."
yeah.
So, I like that, writing things down because I think that that's, like, a habit that can remind you that there are, like, such happy things and
Mhm.
joyous moments that we can focus on and
Even in the simple, like, what am I trying to say? Even in just, like, the everyday
Oh,
normal
yeah.
life,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't have to be a bit. I mean, like, I do find a lot of joy in, like, when we go do really fun things
Yeah.
or whatever, but it doesn't have to be that. It
Yeah.
can be just a simple day at home or running errands or, just
It can be, like, the literal sympath like, it could be Riley walking from one side of the room to the other, and I'm just
exactly.
looking at him
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm
Yeah.
so happy right now."
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, just even something that I just thought of is trying to like see the world from their perspective. And it's
Mhm.
just like, they're happy with just the simplest
Yeah, the
things, you
littlest
know?
thing. I sat
Yeah.
in our bedroom, yes, a couple days ago, I think it was on Thursday. I was giving Riley a bottle, and I had laid down or I was just sitting in our bed, and Everly got in the bed. We'd just taken a shower, and she was jumping up and down and saying, "Yaya's coming, woohoo." That's literally
Oh,
all she was doing.
yeah.
She was just jumping up and down, "Yaya's coming, woohoo," and then she would jump when she said woohoo with
Yeah.
her arm up like this.
So cute.
Riley, I have never heard him laugh as much as he did in that
Oh
moment,
my
and she
god.
kept doing it because she knew that
It
it
was
was
gonna
making
make him laugh.
him
Yeah. Yeah.
so happy, and it was, like, the
That's
sweetest
precious.
thing, and I filmed the end of it because I was like, "I can't take my camera out right now because
Mhm.
it's gonna ruin it," but I think that moment for me, just, like, things like that,
Mhm.
where it's nothing, it was just her in a diaper, I think, just jumping up and down
Yeah.
happy,
Yeah.
and him just being happy with her.
Mhm.
That's all they need.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Makes you
It's true.
happy.
It's true. Another thing that I have done with Hillam, like, just ever since, like, he was old enough to understand the question, is at the end of every day or, like,
Mm,
around the end of every day, I ask him, "What was your favorite part of the day?"
yes, I love doing that with
And I
Everly too.
love just, like, hearing what he has to say because sometimes it's, like, something you don't expect.
Mhm.
Or I love it especially on, like, the really hard days where I just feel like I was a bad mom or, like, it just was not a good day. I was not having a good day. I was not having a good attitude. I was snapping at the kids. I didn't get anything done. Just, like, and it feels like a waste of a day
Yeah,
almost. And then I'll try to remember to ask him, like, "What was your favorite part of the day?" And he always has an answer, like,
yeah,
and it could be, like, playing with my Play-Doh or, I don't know, like, my fruit snack that I
yeah,
ate or, like, I don't know, like but it's just I love hearing what he has to say, and it's, like, can be so simple, but I don't just reminds me that there's, like, good in every day, even the hard
yeah,
days.
yeah. That's I love asking Everly that too. She's a little younger, and so sometimes her responses are very questionable, but I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
Or she'll say something like, "But we didn't do that
Yeah,
today."
yeah, yeah.
But there's always something that she's like, "Yeah."
Mhm,
She's just
mhm.
happy about it. It could, like you're saying, like a fruit snack or something, like, Everly could just be like, I don't know, Eggies. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay,
Great.
I'm
Yeah.
happy." Yeah.
Yeah. And then a lot of times Hillam's gotten to the point where he'll ask me back, "Mom,
Mm,
what was your favorite part of the day?" So then it, like, forces me And some days, I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard to think of
Yeah.
my favorite part of the day because I'm like, today was just a hard day and it just feels heavy.
Yeah.
And but it forces me to like think. And yeah, it's like,
Do you ever think
your big hug that you gave me or, like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know if this makes sense. Do you ever think that it's important for our kids to know when we're having a hard time, for them to know that it's okay to have a hard time?
Yes.
Like, to frame it in such a way that was like, today was a little bit tough for me, but,
Mm,
like, knowing that we did this made it so much better, and I'm so happy that we did that, and that made me so happy. You know what I
that's
mean?
actually yeah, that's actually a really good point. Like, I'm really glad you said that because I agree. I totally agree. I think I just forget that and,
Well,
like
I'm not saying that I do it either, but it's something that
no,
when
I
you said
just
that, like, maybe it's good for them to know that it's okay to have hard
yeah,
days, and if you have a hard day, you can say that.
yeah, and I think part of me still wants to act like I don't
Yeah.
have hard
No, I
days or, like,
agree.
I have it together or, like,
Yeah.
I'm happy or, like so I think that's so true, is it's okay to be like, "Yeah, today was kinda hard day," or, like, I was kinda sad today, but you know what made me happy was our just spending time
Yeah.
with you," or I
Like,
don't know.
have your kids seen you cry?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, because Everly
Uh,
will see me cry. Everly will see me cry. Sometimes I think
I think
it
that's
might be a
good.
good thing that she
Well,
gets
I
to
mean,
see
like,
that I have emotions too, that I'm not always
because
happy.
like words are one thing, but like actions are another. So like if you're telling your kid like it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel your
But then they
feelings,
never
to be
see you
sad, but they
cry.
never see you
Yeah.
cry or be sad, then they're
Yeah.
like, is that
Yeah.
true though? So that's a good point.
I don't know. I told Everly I was sad from, oh, it was my teeth recently. I was having a hard day. And she just was like, "It's okay, mama." And she just came up and gave me a hug. 'Cause I think that's what I do with her. And so I think in that moment it was like I do think that it's good that she knows how I am with her and
Mhm.
how to, like how we help each other.
Yeah.
And it was nice to just see that she was like, "It's okay, like let me give you a hug and like it'll be okay." And so, I
That's
don't know.
sweet.
It's like
Yeah.
good to see.
I wanted to ask you, I wanted to see if you had any thoughts on this question.
Mhm.
It's what are some ways to make family life feel lighter and more fun?
Mm.
Because something I don't know if we touched on is like your kids, I do think they can sense
Mhm.
your emotion.
Yeah.
Like they can
Yeah.
sense your stress, they can sense when you're feeling heavy. And so even on those days when you are feeling sad and stressed and heavy or just like generally because like you said it's okay for them to know you're having a hard day but also
You don't want that to
you
be every day.
and you don't want to like dwell on it or
Exactly.
so like what are some ways to like make it feel lighter and
I think like doing just like spontaneous or just like doing fun things. Like Dwayne and I got out a little board game that we played with Everly before bed the other night. But just the three of us were spending
yeah just having
some
that
time
one-on-one
together.
time
Or I mean, just honestly as simple as everybody sitting down for dinner at the table together,
yeah
and just chatting and talking to one another, I think is good.
yeah
Or if like getting out of the house, I think for Dwayne and I, like on weekends, if
yeah
we have time,
yeah
like going to the zoo for us is like, oh, let's
mhm
have fun and we'll go see the animals. And your phones aren't on you.
mhm mhm
You're walking around and having fun and doing something that interests the kids. I think things like that where you can kind of laugh
yeah
and have fun. Honestly, being outside.
yeah
I know that seems kind of silly.
yeah
I've just been sitting in the sun and like having them walk around and play with each other.
so
It's just
fun
like the sun
mhm
like just lightens everything.
Yeah, it's like it literally
Literally,
It literally makes it lighter, like
quite literally. I mean, just the simplest thing of feeling the breeze, and if you are in a place where it is not very sunny right now,
mm,
I think even still getting outside, just like fresh
yeah,
air and like moving around. And I say this as a new person with ADHD help at this point who's able to do some of these things.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, damn, this is great. But like,
s
even if it's doesn't have to do with your kids, like
yeah,
you could go, like, I went to a baby shower today and I spent a couple hours with girlfriends that I
mhm,
don't always get to see.
yeah,
That sends me home in a better mood. And
yeah,
I'm like so much happier to be with
yes,
everybody because I had that
yes,
time to do something else.
yeah,
So I
for
guess that's
sure.
not like as a family, but like
Yeah,
if you think about
but
like that
it affects
benefits the
it. Yeah,
family.
yeah,
So it can even be as little as just like going to a store and spending some time or meeting a friend for coffee
I
and
was gonna say, I think that can be a big thing is, like, connecting with friends or family, like getting together with a friend, or, like, this week, my mother-in-law was in town, and it was just, like, so fun and, like, good for all of us just
yeah,
to, like yeah, like, be with
connection.
family and connection, yeah, and just, like, fun memories and experiences, and so taking, like, the time to connect.
Yeah.
We just need that, you
No, and I
know?
think as moms, especially with like young kids, we get so stuck in
Mhm.
like a routine and it
Yeah.
is truly it can get really hard
Mhm.
because it's just you and little ones.
Yeah.
But my point was that we get so stuck and it doesn't help your headspace, I don't think. So literally just talking with somebody like another
Mhm.
human being who's honestly sometimes not your husband
Yeah.
can do wonders. Like
Yeah.
I always come back like before when I had my strides thing and that was
Mhm.
like like I would go out just for a park play date for an hour and I would come home feeling like a new person because I got to
Yeah.
talk to somebody else. And like
Have
we
a
could share
some
our
adult
feelings. Exactly.
interaction. Yeah.
So I think as moms, that's hard.
Mhm.
But if you can find times like that, that definitely helps to make things
Sure.
lighter. And all to say, when I feel that way, I feel like I'm in a better headspace to put more positivity out there. My
Yeah.
throat is still messed up. And then take that and I genuinely in this time day and time that we are in right now want to be able to somehow make a difference with that positivity in a
Yeah.
it can be a small way but in some sort of way that can help others
Yeah.
and show that to my kids.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of those things. Yeah, that and that kind of idea that you were just talking about, like, in order to make, a difference and, like, be a part of the positive change, like, you need to do that for yourself
Yeah,
first, you know,
absolutely.
like
Well, it was great to like share these things because I think I have new ideas for how I can do
yeah,
things and then just I think it's important to remind ourselves to take moments every day to find positivity, especially right now, to take that positivity and put it into something bigger than us
mhm, mhm,
in whatever small way that may be. I think that if there were ever a time, now is the time to make a change with that,
yeah,
if that
yeah,
makes sense.
absolutely. Yes, yes, and we would love to hear what you guys think or are doing in your lives to, help your kids and help make a positive change in the world too. So share
Yeah,
your ideas with us,
we
please.
would love more. We love it
Yes.
all. Anything, we're here for it. And we thank all of you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.